Hey YouTube, Common Collector here, and today I'm bringing you guys an update to my Swordsoul deck profile. Ever since the new ban list hit last week, I really knew that I wanted to make this update to the list because Pot of Desires is now at 2 copies, which is just a huge help for this deck because this deck overall does have just enough gas to really keep going on its plays, but now that you have Desires, you can really extend a little bit more and sometimes end your board with 3 or even 4 synchros sometimes, which is really cool. So without any further ado, let's get on into the profile and just make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and make sure to check out the Patreon. Because at the end of the month, we are doing a giveaway for a box of Ghosts from the Past to a lucky member over there on the Patreon, as well as an additional box for every 5 people on the Patreon. So go ahead and check it out if you guys have been considering. But anyways, 3 copies of the Mogi right here, you know, sort of the heart and soul of the deck, along with actually probably Long Yon is maybe one of the best cards to now help you to get into either the Baronne de Fleur or the new Long Yon level 10 synchro is so good for the deck. And then we're obviously playing the 2 copies of Taya, extremely standard lineup. Only 2 Taya is fine. But yeah, overall, all 3 of these cards just work in tandem so well with each other. And then for our next card, when we're going second, is really nice. Our 3 copies of the Incredible Ecclesia. It seems like a lot of the time I unfortunately end up drawing the Moe as well as the Incredible Ecclesia, or you know, just like 2 normal summons if I'm going first. So I wouldn't mind trying to go for more of a blind second build, which there have been a couple profiles up, you know, going online lately. So definitely been considering it, but right now still playing this is just sort of like going first, and I can adapt to going second if I have to. Then we have our 3 copies of the Ashuna. I now bumped up to 3 copies of Adhara, playing a much bigger Tenyi lineup just because they are so good in this deck, as well as 3 copies of the Vishuddha. I believe that this is also different since my last profile. And then the 1 copy of the Shathana, because Shathana is just so good. I've actually been utilizing this a lot more in testing, along with the Reborn spell for the deck, the Swordsoul, what is it? Swordsoul Sacred Summit. That card has just been coming up a ton lately, along with the Shathana, so you're able to usually bring back your Taya, and then banish one of your other Swordsoul spell or trap cards, which will allow you to get that extra token onto the field. And then if you have the Shathana, that means that you can go for 2 more Synchro 8 plays just by bringing the Taya out onto the field, or you can normal summon it, which is just really cool. So I've been utilizing that a lot, and it's been helping out a ton. Then we're going to get on into the hand traps. We've got our 3 copies of Ash Blossom, and this is the only monster hand trap that I'm playing here. We will get to the rest a little bit later. Then we are playing our 3 copies of Swordsoul Emergence. Just really nice to be able to search for whatever you need. Usually this is going to get you to your Long Yon or your Taya if you already have your graveyard set up. Then our 1 copy of Swordsoul Sacred Summit. Like I mentioned, this card is a little bit underrated, I think. People are dropping it from their list, but I really like playing with it. Then we're going to go on into our 3 copies of the Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. This card is just so nice as well, just to be able to really stack your graveyard up and get an extra card into your hand. Really great for when you're going first. And then as our sort of going second card, we have our Heavenly Dragon Circle, just also really good. So I want to play this at 3 and 2. Respectively, just because I really do like how this card does work. You know, we don't have Protoss anymore, but this card can still put in just a lot of mileage. Then we're getting on into 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This card can obviously be taken out if you guys can't afford the card, but overall Droplet is just really nice for being able to get around stuff. And definitely with how much synchro monsters you're putting out onto the board, your opponent's definitely going to try to hit you with like with stuff like Dark Ruler No More or their own Forbidden Droplet. So it's nice to have like that generic spell or trap cards that also can help to negate things. Then getting on into our 2 copies of Pot of Desires. I'm really happy that they brought this back to 2. Just really helps the deck out a ton. And then our 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just to help make sure that our combos go through. 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. I wanted to play this at 3, and I was actually really considering playing the Iris Swordsoul. I saw that in the Cali Effects list that he dropped earlier this week, and I believe he got 10th place at a regional with it, possibly, if I remember correctly. But, you know, if you play the Iris Swordsoul, you want to have a lot of negate stuff, so the Infinite Impermanence and stuff would be really good in there. I just figured that it was maybe just not the right right time for me. I just don't feel comfortable enough yet playing the Iris Swordsoul because it just is a little bit situational yet, but it does help put a lot of pressure on your opponent. So it is really cool. Just didn't want to test it out yet for this profile. And then we have our 1 copy of the Swordsoul Blackout. You really just need 1 copy nowadays. I was always playing this at 2, but I really like it now at 1 copy. So this is a 42 card build. I figured 42 is okay since we're playing the 2 copies of Desires. You should definitely be able to see Desires fairly often now, and you shouldn't Desires into Desires if you are playing that 42 card build. It does help quite a bit just to help add a little bit of extra cushion. Getting on into the extra deck, we're playing our 2 copies of the Swordsoul Chichao. He is, you know, very, very standard to play at 2 copies of. Really nice for being able to negate a monster and just also to be able to search for a generic Swordsoul card. Again, if you decided to put in the Iris Swordsoul, this card can actually get you to that card, which is really cool. Then next up is going to be the 1 copy of the Chengying, just to be able to banish extra stuff from your opponent's graveyard and field is really, really cool. And then that actually does pair really nicely along with our next card, which is going to be the new card from Burst or Battle of Chaos, which is the Longyun. So Longyun is just really crazy because he has 3 effects and all 3 of them are really good because if you synchro summon another worm monster while he's on the field, then you're able to draw a card from the deck. So you have your Chichao for being able to draw from the deck. You have this to draw from the deck. You have Pot of Desires as well as all of your other searchers, which is just so crazy that you can like zip through the deck so quickly. And then along with that, whenever your opponent activates a monster or special summons a monster, you're able to banish that monster, and then that will help to trigger off your Chengying, which when a card gets banished, then he's able to banish 2 of your opponent's cards. And then you also have the effect that if your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you're able to banish that card. So this card is really nice against like the adventure token stuff, as well as just basically any other matchup you're seeing, like Despia and all that stuff. So really, really cool. Getting on then into 1 copy of Baron de Fleur. Just one last little plug for the Patreon. I actually did pull this yesterday out of a pack from Dollar General. I was doing just sort of a funny, silly video. So if you guys like those funny little videos where I sort of try to debunk Dollar General, Walmart, Target for all of their weird value products, it actually paid off for once, and I pulled a Baron de Fleur out of a $1 pack. We then have a Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, just for when you get locked into your worms. He's still a nice option. I'm still definitely on the Dragite, which is really good for that generic spell or trap, negation. Then we have the 1 copy, or 2 copies of Baxia, sorry, along with the rest of our Yangzing stuff, which is going to be 1 Chaofeng and 1 copy of the Yazi. Then getting on into the links, I did actually cut the link 3, which I'm really sad about, but we are playing the 3 copies of Monk of the Tenyi still, and then the 1 copy of Shaman to round out this 15 card extra deck. Like I said, the main deck was 42, but then the other thing that I just want to mention, I don't have a side deck for this build yet, just because I want to see how the meta develops a little bit. But the 1 card that I do side in from for the side deck is 1 copy of Crimson Blader for that matchup against Despia. I think that there's enough room in the side deck that you can still afford to play the Baxia in the side deck. So then you just sort of want to play your generic stuff like Triple Tactics Talent, Nibiru, and then any other kind of floodgates and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, I really like the Crimson Blader just for being able to stop the Despia decks from going into those level 5 or higher monsters during their next turn, as well as even in the mirror match or anything else that's trying to go into those level 5 or highers. So if you're not playing up against Drytron, where you don't really care about doing the Chaofeng lock, then you can either side out the Chaofeng or your 2nd copy of Baxia to put in that Crimson Blader. I generally just go for taking out the Baxia. That way, if Chaofeng ever does still come up, you still have that in your extra deck. But thank you guys so much for checking out this profile. I really appreciate it. It was really fun messing around with this deck again. Really, really happy that it's like flourishing once again. It's topping regionals and locals all over the place. And I really just am in love with this new synchro card that we got back in Battle of Chaos. So I wanted to get this profile out to you guys. So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I would really, really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys think about the Swordsoul Tenyi list and how you guys are playing it, what other techs you guys are using for the meta. And we will catch you guys for the next profile. Peace.